Welcome to Forum 360, sponsored by the Knight and GAR Foundations on Fusion, your PBS channel. I'm Stephanie York, your host today, and thank you for joining us for a global outlook with a local view. Human trafficking, the sale of child sex services. We don't like to think about it, and we certainly don't think it happens in our state or our city. But it does, and it's happening right here in our neighborhoods in Northeast Ohio. Every child engaged in a commercial sex act is a victim of sex trafficking. How many children in Northeast Ohio are victims of this horrible scheme? Who is looking out for these children? And where do people find these children, and what can be done to stop it? These questions and more will be answered by our guests today, Greg Colbeck, Chief Operating Officer, and Angel Dague, Program Specialist at RAHAB, Inc., an organization dedicated to ending human trafficking by building relationships, offering safe homes, educating to identifying trafficking and preventing it, eliminating the demand and supply, and simply taking women and children off the market. Welcome, Angel and Greg of RAHAB, Inc., and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
So, can one of you explain basically what is RAHAB?
Yeah, I'd love to. I can do it.
Yeah.
I also want to take your intro with me when we leave because it was awesome.
Okay,
All
you
that
can,
stuff
of
about
course.
RAHAB, I'm going to put on our website.
Yes.
But
Yes.
RAHAB, in a nutshell, is a grassroots organization that started in Akron 16 years ago. Our founder, Becky Moreland, has a story. Mm-hmm. It's not the same story as the women and the kids that we serve, but I think that all of us, we all have a story. We all have suffering. We all have brokenness, and so she did as well. She got to a point in her healing where her mentor challenged her, "What are you going to do to give back now?" She knew that prostitution was an issue in Akron, specifically on the east side, East Exchange Street, Johnson Street, that area. And so Becky committed to go out every single Friday night at midnight. She would go with a small team, and they would just go and walk the streets. She had nothing, no budget, no experience. She just knew that there was a problem, and she wanted to reach the women that were out there.
Wow.
She would make homemade business cards on construction paper with her like a little smiley face on one
Really
side.
grassroots.
Yeah. And she'd cut them out and put her phone number on the other side, her personal phone number, and she'd just go and walk the streets. And what she found real quickly was that women were out there. Mm-hmm. They were under the control of pimps or traffickers. They didn't want to be there, and they wanted out, and no one was reaching them. And so back in those early days, as RAHAB started to take shape, that's all it was. It was street outreach on a Friday night.
Right.
And so we had a woman on our board of directors right in the beginning who was beloved in the community. Her name was Judge Brenda Unruh.
Sure.
She's since passed away. She gave Becky some really sound advice way in those early days. And she said, do what you can do and do it well. And so that's been one of our mantras ever since. So even though now we've got safe houses and we've got drop-in centers and mentoring programs at Summit County Juvenile Court, and we do trainings all over Northeast Ohio and hopefully beyond, we still have outreach teams that reach out every single week to that same neighborhood in East Akron. Because if we lose connection with the streets, if we lose connection with our reputation at the street level, then we've lost something that really makes RAHAB special, which is we're not only the ones talking about the work, but we're the ones doing the work as well.
Now tell me what RAHAB stands for, because I thought that was very interesting.
Sure, it's an acronym for Reaching Above Hopelessness and Brokenness, Inc.
And its mission is to end sex trafficking, really?
Yeah, our mission is hope in Christ to broken women, including survivors of sex trafficking.
Okay, that's great. Now I would like each of you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up working at RAHAB. Let's start with you, Angel, because I hear you have quite a story.
Wow, yeah. Well, I lived 23 years in addiction. 6 of that was in prostitution. I trudged them streets in Akron for a long time. But when I moved back from Arizona, where my life fell apart, when I was 13, I moved too. And I was bullied, and I got introduced to drugs and alcohol, and it wasn't peer pressure for me. I just didn't want to feel the way I felt, and little did I know what that was going to bring for me. So through many abusive, both physically and verbally, relationships with men, and trying to find my identity in them, it took me to rock bottom. And by the time I made it back to Ohio at 23 years old, I eventually met a man that was going to be my knight in shining armor, and he beat me and put me on the streets of Akron. But once I got on the streets and could see how fast that money was made, I was a wild beast out there. I had a crack addiction on the inside of me that would not rest. And so I've been raped probably more times than I could count. I don't think I've ever tried to count. Once brutally raped so horribly that it landed me in the hospital, and that was from a guy that told me he was going to protect me. But after I'd been up, I think I'd been up that time 7 days. So when my body went to sleep, it was just a miracle that I even woke up, but I was too weak to protect myself. And it kind of broke me at that point. And after that, all I really wanted to do was die. And one day I just screamed out to God to save me or kill me, but don't let me live this way anymore. And at first he came to get me in a paddy wagon, and I wasn't excited about that saving. So it was in and out of treatment.
God comes in different ways, right?
I realized today that was my chariot. But I ended up in and out of jail. I went to prison, in and out of treatment centers. But on April Fool's Day in 2008, I heard God speak to me. He said that I was worth more than what I'd been doing to myself. And he sent a package of dynamite to come see me. And I remember getting called over the intercom. Dague, you have a clergy visit. And I looked to the girl next to me and I said, what is that? And she said, oh, some lady wants to talk to you about Jesus. And I ran up the steps because I'd always knew about him, but I just thought he had better things to do than me. Little did I know that Jesus came for me. And it took me 11 months to figure out who this lady was. But I remember our conversation being long, but all I remember is that she came to tell me that Jesus loved me. And 11 months later, I found out who she was. And I found out she kept showing up at this house over on Matthew Street every Friday at 3 o'clock. And that next Friday, when I found out at 11 months sober, I busted through that door, buddy. And that lady's Becky Moreland.
The founder of
And I
RAHAB.
told her that day, I'm going to stalk you all the way here on earth into heaven. And so Becky said I stalked her so long, she hired me after 6 years. Yeah.
So that's how you got to RAHAB.
That's how I got there.
And how long has it been?
I've been with RAHAB almost 10 years.
Wow.
But I've been on payroll for 4.
Wow.
But it's not payroll. This is what God wove me together to do.
Right.
Yeah. My heart beats for the streets of Akron, Ohio.
So there are other women like you that RAHAB has.
Absolutely. Got a whole big family of RAHAB sisters.
That's amazing. That is truly an amazing story. We're glad you're with us.
Thank you.
I mean, and all here on the show and with us.
Thank you so
also,
much.
Yeah. How did you end up working for RAHAB?
Same. No, you can
joke about it. It's okay. But
Angel's story is outstanding, right? And so that's,
it is.
as much as we can tell it, we want her to be able to tell it and have a voice to share it. But Becky is the reason I got to RAHAB as well. She's actually my mother-in-law, and so I'm from New York. And when I was out in New York, I heard a woman named Christine Kane speak about the issue of trafficking back in, I think it was 2010, and after years of being interested and wanting to help out, I was watching my girlfriend's mom was doing this nonprofit in Akron. I'm like, what is going on over there? And so I ended up marrying Amanda, and Becky asked me to come on board at RAHAB in 2014. There was 2 part-timers and Becky, and she said, man, things are blowing up.
Sure.
Like, we need some help over here. And I want it to be a guy so you can't get sucked into the day-to-day work with the women. You'd be in the office doing administrative things. And she offered me the job, and now we've got over 20 full-time staff members.
Yeah. Wow.
And things have
really
blown up.
grown.
Yes, in the last 4 years.
That just shows the need too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, which we'll get to that because I
Yeah.
know there's a need out there, and
Yeah.
I know everyone's going to be surprised by the need. So let me ask you, where is RAHAB actually located? Now, I know this is a kind of a complicated question, and then I want to ask, where do you actually work? Is it in the office? Is it on the streets? Is it in safe houses? Or is it all of this?
Yeah, I could jump in and you just cut me off.
Yep.
We are decentralized. We've got a few different locations. Our main office is right in Fair Lawn, and that's just administrative offices.
Okay.
But we have a continuum of care. It's kind of like what we call it. So we've got outreach programming, which doesn't have a specific location. That's still street outreach, going into Oriana House correctional facilities, going to strip clubs, local area strip clubs. every month, bringing gifts, homemade food, things like that. So that doesn't actually have any brick and mortar to it besides the places we're going.
Let me cut you off real quick.
Sure.
Because
Yeah, please, go
I'm
ahead, go
looking
ahead.
at you and thinking,
What?
okay, you're showing up at a strip club.
I'm not going.
Or whoever's going,
No.
with cake and candy and,
Yes.
and little gifts.
Yes.
How do the proprietors of the establishments accept this?
With open arms.
Do they? Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, because, you would think, is it hurting their business? Is it helping their business? Like
I
tell
don't
me
get
about
it.
that.
Like, we're trying to shut them down, right?
Right.
But for some reason,
That's what
they
I'm
just.
saying. How are they?
I don't know if it's nearsighted, and the women are happier after Rahab comes, or I can only speculate as
Or
to
maybe
why.
they don't like so they're in the strip club business. That's a big far cry from
Yes.
hooker business, and
Is it?
I don't
know that it's different at all.
Really?
Matter of fact, I would say that it isn't. And
Okay.
Becky Moreland's the one that definitely drove that home for me, especially me being so heavy on myself in the beginning of saying what a worthless nobody I was for choosing that type of life for myself. And then later I seen that how far it was that I chose that.
Yeah, you didn't choose it.
No. And that prostitution, stripping, human trafficking is all under the same umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No woman was born as a baby growing up saying, I can't wait to be a stripper or a prostitute. And when she drove that home and, made a promise to God that she would always voice that there was no different.
Right, and when we bring in gifts, and I say we,
Yeah.
Rahab, we bring in
Sure.
gifts. They're small gifts, but they're heartfelt.
Oh,
Sure.
And
These
the
are
women
things that the women
love
don't
it.
get.
Love it.
heartfelt
But if
gifts.
they were making tons of money in a strip club, why would they care about this small little gift that Rahab's bringing in? So I think that there's a large misnomer about who wants to be there. What are they? Are they raising money to pay their way through school? I don't think that from what we've experienced, that's largely a misconception.
Well, the cookies come with empathy
Yeah,
and
exactly.
love
Right.
and compassion, which
Love
it's
covers a
it's
multitude
lot,
of sin.
It's a
Right.
lot more than the little gifts.
That's right.
Right, true.
And that's what you're finding
And it's
out.
consistency. It's month after month after month after month for years and
Relationships.
years. Seems to have
Yep.
gone. We found out another one of our taglines is that relationship is the intervention. Like we can do all this programming, we can raise all this support, we can give out all these free things, but relationship, real, honest relationship with a healthy individual is the intervention. And so we do all these things so we can create that relationship to help walk alongside women so they can make the decision to
It's
progress.
amazing. Tell me again. So you're on the streets.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
I cut you off.
No, it's fine. Fine. So
You-
that's so we do those things. That's pursuit. We're
Okay.
pursuing people to show them, like she said, that you have worth, you have value. And how are we going to communicate that? By going to the places where you are.
Yeah.
Then we want to invite you to a non-residential program, which would either be the drop-in center on Matthew Street in East Akron,
Okay.
or a place called Sayla's Place, which is, we don't disclose the location, but it's like a drop-in center. It's a mentoring center for youth that we mentor through the Summit County Juvenile Court. That program is the only specialized docket in the state of Ohio as a diversion program for survivors
Yeah.
or high risk of being sex trafficking victims.
So you have lots of partners in this. I mean,
Yeah,
you
for
would
sure.
need
Great
to.
ones.
Judge Teodosio is
Yeah,
part of
she's
Yes.
that.
outstanding.
Yes.
Outstanding. Yeah.
She is
Love her.
outstanding.
Yes.
I need to get her on the show.
Yes.
I think. She does a lot in the community.
Right, and
She
so that would be the
does.
invite, and then the last piece is we have a
Yes.
safe house on 30 acres that has 9 beds for adult survivors of sex trafficking. It's completely free to them. They can live there for 2 years. They get everything from trauma-informed counseling to job readiness.
Wow.
They can go back to school, life skills training, and we just acquired another 20 acres, built a brand new build. It's going to have 16 beds for young girls ages 11 to 17 years old, and they can live there until they
11
age
years
out.
old.
Right.
mean-
And so that'll be open. We'll be able to accept girls in the next few months. And we've been told by those partners that you talked about, you got a lot of partners, we've been told that however many beds you make available on day one, we will fill them.
Amen.
Wow.
So
I think
that's the
11
need.
years old. I have a 10-year-old daughter, so, I mean, I don't think people realize that this is happening in our neighborhoods
Yes.
with 11-year-old and younger. I mean,
Right.
but 11-year-old.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
United
incredible.
States Department of Justice put out a stat that says the average age is between 12 and 14 years old that a girl enters into prostitution in America.
Yes.
And we've found that to be accurate here locally with the women and the kids that we've
That's
we work
astounding.
with.
I want to remind our viewers and those who may have joined late that we are here with Greg Colbeck, Chief Operating Officer, and Angel Dague,
Program specialist.
Program Specialist. She's got a new title, so of RAHAB, Reaching Above Hopelessness and Brokenness, a nonprofit organization to help end human trafficking. Now, the perception is that human trafficking is not a United States problem. I mean, you're talking to someone that lives in the suburbs that
Right.
heard you speak at a Kiwanis event, or even a Northeast Ohio problem. It's probably one of those things that people think, oh, that can't possibly happen here, right? But it is happening here. Can you give me some numbers about how many girls we're talking about in Northeast Ohio that are involved in human trafficking? Like, I don't know whether it's a yearly or weekly or daily. I don't know what kind of numbers you accumulate.
go?
But
I would say a whole lot.
Right. So there's a lot of stats out there.
Sure.
People say that there's thousands of missing children
Yes.
in Ohio per year. People would say that there's thousands of women and children that are trafficked through Ohio each year. I want to focus it in and give a real hard stat.
Okay.
That's the Summit County Juvenile Court has identified either victim or high risk of becoming a
Yes.
victim. And the high risk of becoming a victim, they probably are, they just haven't disclosed it. They've identified over 170 kids, boys and girls, through the Summit County Juvenile Court since 2014
wow.
that are either high risk or victims of sex trafficking. And so if you think about that number,
And those are the ones that go through the system.
right, exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Those are the ones that got arrested in Summit County. What about
Right.
kids that got arrested in other counties? Or what about kids that didn't get arrested?
or
in
haven't been
foster
found
care,
yet.
Haven't been
That's
found
right.
yet, right. And so there's,
Wow.
that's a huge number for such a specific sample size. And so, yeah, you've also got this, if we're just looking for, you see these sides of these billboards or these signs up with a girl in chains or bound or gagged, and it's dark, and if we're just looking for that, we're going to miss a lot of it, because we would identify that as quote unquote guerrilla trafficking, snatched off the street or snatched out of a Walmart, hidden in a truck, taken to a different city, held in chains.
Yes.
But there's another thing called finesse trafficking, which is the grooming, the intentional grooming of vulnerable youth, where they might not be in chains. At least they might not be in physical chains. They're in bonded relationships. And so
Yes.
if we're just looking at one, we're going to miss a lot of the issue.
Wow. How many do you think RAHAB help monthly, annually,
Yeah, well, we mentor almost every single one of those kids that comes through Summit County Juvenile Court, and we reached, I think, what was the number we put out, over 2,500 last year?
Oh, yeah.
Women and children.
Easily.
Now, RAHAB, again, is reaching if we go back to our mission statement, it's hope in Christ to broken women.
That's right.
So you don't have to fill out an application to get in the drop-in center.
No.
If you're coming over there because you're down and out and you need food or community or some
Sure.
kind of encouragement or safety,
Yes.
we're not going to make you fill out some form to identify if you're a sex trafficking victim. Through the courts, you're going to have that. To get into our safe housing, we need to know that that's part of the story.
Right.
But we cast a pretty wide net with, I wouldn't say that everybody in a strip club is a sex trafficking victim, or everybody on the streets is a sex trafficking victim, or everyone at the drop-in center is, but
they're a victim of something.
Yeah. And
yes,
they all need
exactly,
help.
right.
Right.
And so our number of people that we've influenced last year or touched last year is in the thousands.
That's amazing. So I've heard that Montrose is a hub for human trafficking because of all the hotels right on the expressway. Is that the case, or is that just a rumor?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a rumor. There was a study that was done by, I forget who exactly it was, but it was local, and they looked at Backpage.com, which was kind of like a Craigslist, and people were being sold. You just sell people on it. And you could buy a lawnmower, you could buy stuff like you would buy on Craigslist, but you can go in the escort section and buy people. And it's since been seized by the FBI.
I was going to say, where's the FBI in all this, right?
Yeah, they did it. So
Yes.
it's just gone more underground, or it's gone to other sites.
Sure.
But they pulled a whole bunch of statistics from ads for an entire month, and they took specific data points, and one of them was zip code, and they found out for that time period, the number one zip code for listings was 44333, which is
Where I
Fair
live.
Lawn, Bath, right? And so that is also saying that that's where the ads were taking place. I don't know
Sure.
if that's where the girls were coming from,
Right.
but that's
Right.
where the activity was happening. And yeah, hotels are.
There's a lot of hotels right on the, and you'd think in the expressway.
Yeah, and it brought
It's
in the
right
hill,
there.
like up there on the hill in
Sure.
Copley. I think that's technically Copley, but it's all right there, right?
Right on that hill. Wow. So you can't do this on your own. You do have partners, the juvenile court, FBI, police,
Mm-hmm.
all those agencies. Are we missing any?
Probably, yeah. Tons
Yeah.
of church partners over the years. We've had a lot of church partners
yes.
be supporters for years. We've got an army of volunteers, people who have worked tirelessly for way longer than I've
Yes.
been at RAHAB that haven't ever made a dime. They do it because
Well, that's interesting. So I do have a question about volunteers, and I want to find it.
Cool.
Because you did talk about volunteers. So what can the average person do to help your organization? Are there volunteer opportunities? Do they get trained? What's involved with that? Because I know people are hearing this, and I know they're shocked by it, because I know I was, that this is going on in our neighborhoods in the thousands.
Right.
Yes.
And right under our noses, and we don't know what's happening. What can we do? What can someone do to help?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we do have a training, what's it, every 3 months?
Yeah, we have one in January and then one in February. The January one will be on our website. It's called RAHAB Essentials Training.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I've been to several, and I even learn things when I go. It's magnificent the way that the team of RAHAB is brought, studied, and wants to bring the information to the community. A lot of people that come to the training may just want to know, be informed. So if they would see something, they would be able to identify it.
Right.
And a lot of times, and a lot of people want to come and actually help and be a part of the army that RAHAB is. I believe there's a huge army raising up in Akron. And so they have different areas that they can be called to, or that they feel in their heart they're being called to. And so after the essentials training, then we have a training called
Specialized.
Yes, and that's when you're with the team that works with the RAHAB house, or the team that works with the safe house or the sailor's place, and it's more in depth. And so we have phenomenal volunteers.
Some of them takes a special person, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love the women that come alongside of us, and we have a Bible study team of men that have came to our RAHAB house and served women that we serve, and just being like showing that there are men out there that really do want to see the best for them.
Right.
And
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that people can get involved as a volunteer in RAHAB all across the spectrum. It could
Yes.
be very, very in-depth, one-on-one mentoring relationship for a long period of time with an adult or a youth, or it could be
cooking.
donating,
Oh, sure.
donating hygiene items. And so I would encourage anybody to either reach out to us or connect. If they want to get involved and they're like, I'm not really going to be on the streets at midnight on Friday,
Right.
but I want to do something, there's something that could be done.
Well, that
for
does
sure.
bring up a question. Is there a danger aspect for the volunteers? Going into strip
I would
clubs?
say, yeah,
and,
for sure.
But they know this, they get trained in it.
Yeah, our executive director, Suzanne Lewis Johnson,
Awesome lady.
left the FBI. She was 10 years in the FBI.
I was going to ask you about her. So you got
Yeah.
a new
Yeah, we got a
president,
new
CEO.
director. Yeah, CEO, director. She's unreal.
Yes.
I think she said over 99% of people who are in the FBI stay there until retirement.
Yes.
So she's of the
And that was
vast,
her dream job, I
Yeah,
heard.
that's what it. I mean, I think that's. I can't speak for. I've never been there,
Right.
but once you're there, aren't you there? Right?
You would think. Do they let you out?
Right, I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, but she wants. She basically. Yeah, she's incredible, and she says that if we can't guarantee safety, we can take all the necessary precautions, but what we're doing is not safe.
That's right.
Right.
And so we're not going to lie to volunteers or staff members.
That's right.
We're going to
Right.
pray. We're going to take it extremely seriously. We're going to have security systems and protocol in place. But at the end of the day, you're going into darkness to try to,
Sure.
help somebody experience freedom. And so that's not really
Sure,
safe.
right.
Well-
So Suzanne is new executive director.
Yes.
She came from the FBI. Was
Yeah.
she doing this work with you?
Yeah,
or-
she was doing human trafficking investigations and I think it's crimes against children investigations.
Okay.
And she was a partner of ours for 2 or 3 years. She
Yep.
knew Becky very, very closely, and she actually ended up. We were working parallel, right?
Okay.
In her world and ours. RAHAB doesn't want to be law enforcement. We are not, and so we want to partner with law enforcement. They do a sting. They're going to rescue women or kids. We want to be able to provide services. We're not going to try to be the ones kicking in doors because that's not what we're called to.
And arresting them and
Yeah.
We can't, right? And
Yeah.
so we want to work alongside law
safe
enforcement.
haven for them.
We want to work alongside all those partners. And so she left there to come over to RAHAB because she believes that this is the model that can be replicated nationally.
Absolutely.
How big of a geographical area do you serve? Is it just Northeast Ohio? I mean, is it Northeast Ohio? Is it Summit County? Is it Akron? Like,
That's a really huge question lately.
Yeah.
We're in Summit County, but our office is in Summit County, but our safe house isn't. So we're already serving multiple counties. I would say for sure, confidently, we're serving Northeast Ohio. Our goal, our hope is to, in the next year, replicate locally, whether it's Stark County or another surrounding county, replicate services like outreach, like a drop-in center.
Sure.
Find the partners down there that are already doing it well, and hopefully link arms, and then eventually replicate nationally.
Are there other RAHAB programs out there?
Not under us.
Okay.
But there are people who
But
have the
there
same
are-
heart, same kind of culture, and are doing street outreach, strip club outreach, drop-in center.
absolutely.
And
Okay.
we can work together for sure.
Yeah, that's great. How do you spread the word about this? I mean, you came to our Kiwanis meeting, which has 20 people. That's not a great way to spread the word.
Oh, we do it at
Although-
smaller meetings than that. We'll talk.
Oh, yeah.
How many times
Yeah.
have you gone to? We try to speak as many times as we can, wherever
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah, yeah.
And then those people speak too, and then they'll find us.
Yeah, and then get on our social media platforms.
Yes.
Instagram
Right.
and Facebook, RAHAB Ministries. That's the best way to stay updated.
Right. So, thank you for joining us on Forum 360, sponsored by the Knight and GAR Foundations on Fusion, your PBS channel. Today we learned about the real problem of sex trafficking in our area. It's real, it's scary, and it's something we can help end. We talked with Greg Colbeck and Angel Dague at RAHAB Inc. about what their organization is doing to end human trafficking in Northeast Ohio and beyond, from building relationships, providing safe houses, eliminating the demand, and simply taking women and children off the market. RAHAB is making a difference in the lives of these children, women, and families, and changing the fabric of our community. Thank you, Angel and
Thank you.
Greg, for joining us today, and thank you for all you do. It really was an eye-opening discussion.
Forum 360 is brought to you by Electrical Impulse Communications, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, an anonymous donor, the Jewish Community Board of Akron, Medical Mutual of Ohio, Blue Green, and Forum 360 supporters.